Hey everybody, it's Master Galengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of Warrior, The White Mountain. And I kind of enjoyed this episode because we got a lot of different kind of backstories for certain characters and kind of knowing character motivations. So this episode starts out and we see that Bill is in a Chinese-owned casino and is just gambling away, and that's a big kind of thing that we're seeing throughout this episode of learning his motivations. We don't know exactly why he gambles, other than he kind of feels like things are kind of out of control. He's stuck between so many different forces that it's like, screw it. He kind of gets addicted to this thing of just winning, and he goes to try and get more markers to continue playing, but they won't give it to him. But he runs into this guy, Jack, who used to work with him. He went off to Chicago to be a Pinkerton, didn't like the weather, and decided to come back, but yet he couldn't work as a cop, so he instead worked with the Feng Huai and being an enforcer for the casino, because it helps that he can go into different kind of places than a Chinese enforcer would be able to. So Bill is able to get more markers because his buddy vouches for him, and he racks up a big winning, but decides to keep playing. He's like, I'll just keep going until the action cools, and of course loses everything again, meaning that he doesn't know when to tactically get out of a situation. So his friend Jack takes him outside and beats him and gives him the kind of lowdown. We get the whole spiel of how the Feng Huai think that they are descended from Genghis Khan, and the whole thing behind the Mongols, and how the Chinese emperor had sent out scouts to kind of figure out what they're doing and finding a white mountain of bones, and of course using that to kind of scare Bill to repay everything that he needs to in 3 weeks. So he kind of, that's where we see off his kind of story go on. He continues going on and kind of linking up with Lee, because the police department is tasked with going in and making just bringing up kind of bullshit charges on any kind of like Chinese business, and they decide to target Toy's brothel and are just going after the Chinese. It's mainly for optics and kind of turning public opinion against the Chinese, because that's Buckley's way of kind of aggravating the situation. Buckley, of course, also has the problem of finding that the mayor is in the brothel at the time, but that doesn't really affect anything, as they pretty much get all the people that aren't Chinese out and just kind of mess with other people. We see one police officer is kind of beset by a dude who has a hatchet, but the dude puts down the hatchet and then he shoots him in the head and pisses on his body. It's like, okay, we kind of got it with this operation anyway, but alright, that's pretty fucking horrible. We see that Bill and Lee are involved as well, and that Bill decides to take money from Toy because she can tell that he can be bribed, and of course he needs the money. Lee kind of, well, Lee doesn't like that he's doing it, and Bill kind of confronts him on it, and he's like, listen, we're pawns in a game here. We gotta do what we need to survive, and kind of tries to shut Lee up. We then see the fallout of this as Buckley is trying to do this as optics and have the mayor take a picture with the Chinatown squad. And Lee doesn't really want to be in the picture, even providing information that you can't really send the Chinese back with their haircut like they're doing, because it's the law in China as the emperor decreed. So he definitely knows more than he's letting on, and I've got the suspicion that he could be like a Pinkerton or whatnot. But of course, he goes into the photo and just stays in the back as much as possible and leaves off. It's like, whatever, I don't care. And we then get it towards the end of the episode where Bill and Lee just have a chat, and Lee comes to terms with understanding what Bill is trying to do. And Bill's like, hey, we keep our heads down and everything, we get out of here and we can go to a place that we actually do real police work and we'll be fine. And of course, buying him around and all that, and then he goes off to gamble some more. And that's where we close out the episode. The other kind of stories that we get on are with like Awesome and Young Jun and Bolo, and then of course Awesome and Penny and Mei Ling and the Feng Huai. With Awesome, we start off where he gets kind of just into the breakfast kind of mode at the Hopway, and of course, Young Jun is trying to get a feel for how he's feeling after his beating and everything. And we see Bolo bring out this railroad spike, and we get into his whole kind of backstory where he was part of the Transcontinental Railroad in Utah, and of course they figured out he had good fighting abilities and pretty much put him into fighting matches, calling him the Yellow Demon. This, of course, piqued the interest of Father Jun, and he goes out, sees his skills, and decides to buy him. This brings in the effect of Awesome going like, what do you mean he bought you? That, he can't own you like a hat. And then, of course, Bolo's like, yeah, he can. He owns all of us. Remember that. So Young Jun's like, all right, let's just get out of here, Awesome. Let's go chill a little bit. And he decides to give him some cigarettes that he's got, and Awesome's smoking it a little bit, and then starts seeing some freaky shit like a man disappearing. And Young Jun's like, hey, these are special ones for special occasions. They've got molasses and opium. And it's like, you really need to tell people about that before you start doing all that, because you don't know how people react on certain things like that. And I'm like, okay. And we get a cool interaction between the two, really getting more of their relationship as Young Jun really wants to trust Awesome. And of course, Awesome is like, yeah, I trust you, man. I got your back. He's like, sure, it's good. Good to know that. Trust is a two-way street. Even getting into the fact of kind of going a little bit into his whole sister spiel. He doesn't say that it's his sister he was looking for, but said that she was dead. So it's kind of telling that Awesome didn't want to get into it with Young Jun. Probably because she's in another Tong and he doesn't want to get into that yet, but it's going to get there eventually, since they're eventually going to get to war. But he kind of leaves it at that, and he sees Jacob and decides to say, you know what, I'm feeling kind of dizzy, so I'm going to go take a walk a little. Okay, just be careful, pretty much. So he goes, he follows Jacob, and it's because Penny wants to see him, taking her into a building that her father owns, and at first you're like, okay, what are they going to do? This is kind of like her painting studio, offering him tea and all that, and he gives her the kind of spiel about his grandfather. He was a sea captain, working with a tea company, got sick, couldn't go back home. Of course, he fell in love with his young nurse, and they decided to go have a farm. His grandmother died when he was a baby. His grandpa died when he was about 13, but he was alive long enough to teach him and his sister English. And then we see Awesome's kind of like going through her kind of like portfolio and all that kind of stuff that she's got for like drawing and sketching. And they pretty much cut to the chase and bang. And it's like, okay, that's going to be kind of a wrinkle. And they kind of explore their situations, and we learn more of Penny's backstory. She got married to the mayor because it would save her father's company. And he, of course, is bringing up the whole thing about finding his sister and joining the Tong to get more information, and how they're both in pretty much the same similar situation. It's like, yeah, okay. That usually doesn't work out pretty well. We'll have to see how this kind of goes. I mean, I like the beginning of this relationship, if we're having that. So we're kind of have to see how that goes, but it's probably not going to end well for Penny. Then, of course, Awesome's story starts to intersect with Mai Ling's. For Mai Ling's, we see that she is trying to gather up troops for what's going to be in the Tong War. We see Li Young pretty much takes out the first crop of people that they're trying to recruit. So she goes to Chow and gets him to set up a meeting with the Feng Huai. And, of course, she also gets a cool kind of pistol-loaded gun portion, because we see that eventually in certain instances when it's previewing the episode. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool. Hopefully she uses that at some point. Chow, of course, is a little bit leery for doing this, but he decides to do it anyway. They go to the meeting. We see that the leader of the Feng Huai does not respect women whatsoever and is being an asshole. And she said, yeah, that's why I killed you. And then we get our second awesome action scene as his kind of second in command starts killing a lot of people, and he starts crying blood and everything, and he's like, ah, shit, and then dies on the table. They flip it over, and the dude who killed the other guys that were not happy about this decides to enter the agreement with Mai Ling. Chow, of course, goes to Lee and is like, dude, what the fuck? Why didn't you tell me about this? And this is not good for my reputation if I set up a meeting with people and people die at it. And he's like, would you have not done it if we told you? You'd be like, I would have charged you more. And she goes off riding in her carriage. This is where it starts to intersect with Awesome because it's late at night and she tells him to get into the carriage. And they have their kind of little conversation and that she wants him to leave the country. Has a boat ticket ready to get him out because there's going to be a war and she just wants him off the board, out of everything. And then Awesome really does something that I didn't quite expect, saying that, like, you were right, I should have fought more and to not have you marry that guy to save me. And I learned my lesson from that. I'm not going to make that mistake again, as he rips it up and it's like, wow, that's cool that he's going to stay and try and save his sister. That's going to be a hard proposition because she's changed and she's instituting something that's going to be really kind of difficult. And there's a lot more people in play than just the Tongs. We got the police having to deal with this. We've got Buckley in here as well. It's going to be bedlam and chaos, and it's going to be nuts. And I actually can't wait for the next episode because the preview they showed that it looked like it was going to be really kind of action heavy and kind of a different locale. So I can't wait to see where this kind of goes next. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.